It is my pleasure to have with us again someone who has been fighting for families in the Fox Valley for an awful long time. Someone who, while he may have lost that election, hasn't stopped for 1 minute fighting for Wisconsin families, hasn't stopped for 1 minute fighting for health care. We are so proud of what Steve Kagen did in his 2 terms in Congress, and we are so proud to have him back with us today. Please welcome Congressman Steve Kagen.
Thank you, Michael Tate, and thank you to Jan Schakowsky for showing up from Illinois. You didn't pay any tolls to get here. Maybe we should return the favor. Congresswoman Moore, I want to thank you for your unending support of the middle class, of people who have been working and struggling hard just to make it through each and every day. People who may not even be in the middle class anymore. We have to change our way of thinking, don't we, Gwen? It's really about the working class, because if you're retired, you're in the working class because you went back to work at Walmart just to get the money to pay these big drug companies for your prescription medications. If you're a student, you're not in the middle class, you're in the working class. Why? Because you're working 1 or 2 jobs just to pay the tuition to get the great education you're going to need to compete in a global marketplace. Yeah, and the rest of us in our middle years, yeah, we're in the working class. This idea of being retired is just a misnomer. It's called reoccupation. And since I've been retired from the United States House of Representatives, I've got a new occupation. I'm running again. This is such a good time to be a Democrat. I want to give a shout out to the Democrats in the 8th CD. Thank you for being here. All across these United States, they talk about Wisconsin being on the front lines and ground zero and all that. Well, the 8th District in northeast Wisconsin is the tip of the spear of the battle for all of our rights. I want to thank you for all you're doing, and especially Dave Hansen, Jim Holprin, and Nancy Nussbaum, all of whom have been in the state Senate. I also will give thanks for all those who have served our nation, all the veterans who are here with us today, who may be listening back home across Wisconsin, across the country. Because of our veterans volunteering to serve our country, we are here today. We are safer than we've ever been before. But just like our veterans, we have to stand up with them and their families to protect all of our constitutional rights. All of our freedoms are at stake because our freedoms are ours for only as long as we can hold on to them. Now, 6 years ago, I did something for the very first time in my life. I ran for the Congress. I ran for Congress because my patients could not afford their prescription drugs and couldn't afford the insurance policy premium. I ran for Congress because my patients were suffering from discrimination. Discrimination due to pre-existing conditions, either because of how they were born or what condition they may have developed. I had this idea that not just no student should be left behind, but no patient should be left behind. And now, because you sent me to the House, no patient will be left behind. We've put discrimination in health care in the trash bin of history. I ran for Congress 6 years ago because our jobs were being shipped overseas. Our American jobs that sustain all of us were being shipped overseas by greedy CEOs in multinational corporations. Corporations that today should not have any inalienable constitutional rights of free speech. I ran for Congress, thirdly, because our children were being shipped off to make war. Instead of being shipped off to school, they were being sent to Iraq, to Afghanistan, and now into Libya. We must stop making war. I had the great honor of working for 4 years in the House of Representatives with Dave Obey, and 4 years with Herb Kohl and Russ Feingold, and it was a great honor to have served with them. And recently, when I had a telephone conversation with Senator Russ Stand-Up Feingold, We had a commiseration. I was the doctor, he wasn't the patient necessarily. I said, you know, Russ, I know exactly how you feel. He says, Kagen, I don't think so. You know, I've been doing this for 28 years. I said, Russ, 4 years in the House with Nancy Pelosi, cleaning up after the biggest elephant parade in American history, that's 28 years like you got. One of the benefits of suffering a recent loss, you know, I may have lost an election, but I'm still here. We're still here fighting for our rights. One of the benefits of not being in office is not being sleep deprived, because Jan and Gwen and everybody that serves in the House and in the Senate is deprived of sleep. They're always moving. Every 15 minutes from 7 a.m. till 10 p.m. is booked. But now I have the time to spend with my 93-year-old father, Dr. Marv Kagen, who was one of the founding fathers of the Democratic Party in the 1940s. And I spent some time with him. And being Socrates, he said, well, Steve boy, how long were you in there? I said, Dad, 4 years. Uh-huh. Are you still my representative? I said, no, Dad, I lost the election. Well, what did you learn? And he made me think about it. I think the greatest lesson I've learned that I'll share with you is I learned that doctors and nurses no longer determine who will live and who will die. It's politicians. It's politicians that will decide if we go to war. It's politicians that will determine who gets a great education in our public schools that they're going to need to survive in the global economy. It's politicians that will determine if our senior citizens, you included, and your parents, can afford the prescription drugs they need to live their life every day. It's politicians that will decide our future and whether or not we will live as a people that still believe in peace, in prosperity, and justice for everyone. This is something that I've learned while serving in the House for you. It was a great honor to learn this lesson, but the lesson came home to Madison when Scott Walker walked into the State House and dropped the bomb. That lesson is real. There are no timeouts in politics. There are no timeouts. Politicians must be held accountable at every level, whether you're a county executive, a mayor, a congressperson, a U.S. senator, and a governor must be held accountable. With the recent announcement by one of our family friends, Herb Cole, to step aside after 24 years of serving as our senator, I want to thank Herb Cole from the bottom of my heart on behalf of everyone I've represented in Northeast Wisconsin and across the state. Thank you to Herb Cole. I know that you believe, as I do, that it's not about retirement, it's about reoccupation. Herb will still play a significant role in all of our lives, just as he had. And I also want to give a shout out to stand-up Russ Feingold. From my heart, I want to thank you for serving, for protecting our rights, for standing up for the 4th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, for pushing back against making war, which is our worst human failure. And I want to wish you well, Russ, on your very brief vacation from the day-to-day politics. I know that you'll come back soon, stronger than ever. Thank you, Russ. So it gives us an opportunity to ask the question, what should our next United States Senator be interested in doing? I think like you do. They should be, he should be, she should be, just like Russ. Stand up to the oil cartel, break up the Arab monopoly, and lower gas prices, because everybody I represented cares about their pocketbook issues. This is something Democrats have to champion. If you ask anybody you see on the street, do you want lower gas prices? Damn right. But we know it's too high. It's too high because OPEC is a monopoly. We need to break them up and support Herb Cole's efforts. I passed a bill through the House unanimously that would do just that. We would be allowed to prosecute the Arab OPEC monopoly and break them up and lower gas prices. This is something our next senator must do. Our next senator must also focus on finishing the job we began in reforming our health care system. We made some progress, but we're not all the way home. And whether you know it or not, you now enjoy 5 new American freedoms. in health care. You are free from discrimination due to pre-existing medical conditions because Democrats passed that law. In the 8th District of Wisconsin and across this state and across the nation, the most likely cause for any family to go broke and lose their home wasn't the mortgage crisis, it was the impossible cost for health care, and we must address that. But now, because of this new law, no longer will a family lose their home and go broke just because a child has a serious illness or a serious accident. Because President Obama signed, was it Obamacare or Kagen care? I'm not sure which it was. Because of our new legislation, you now have the freedom to choose your doctor. It's not the insurance company's prerogative. You have the opportunity today to go to the closest emergency room and get the care that you require urgently, and your insurance company will have to cover that emergency visit. You have these new freedoms because Democrats stood up to big insurance. We have to have a senator again that will stand up against insurance companies and lower the cost. There's one way to do it. You have to ask the question, how much is it really? Because today still, when you go to the hospital, health care in America is upside down. If you've got insurance or Medicare, you get the discount. If you have no insurance today, you get the big bill. I think it's time that we have transparency in all health care pricing, where all prices are openly disclosed. We get to pay the lowest price, and we get to know what it is before we get there. Our next United States Senator must stop the bleeding of American jobs overseas. We need balanced trade deals. We need to make certain that our jobs remain here. We talked earlier, Jan did, about Make It in America. I was one of the House members that helped to champion this idea. Making it in America means that we make things, because if we don't make things in America, we won't have anything. We need to make things. We need to honor our forefathers by investing in public education, by protecting our environment, just like Russ did. He stood up for our values in Wisconsin and brought them across the nation. Wisconsin has always led, and our next U.S. Senator must do exactly that. Be a leader in the environment, just like Gaylord Nelson. Earth Day is every day. Our next United States Senator must also stand up to any administration when they exceed their executive authority. The War Powers Act was enacted to protect us from going to war unnecessarily, no matter who the president may be. We need a senator who will stand up for the War Powers Act and rein in any executive who takes us to war without a vote by the House and the Congress. And finally, our next United States Senator must be just like Russ Feingold. He must believe, and she must believe, that if you have committed torture, no matter what government agent you may be, you should be held accountable and prosecuted. Here in Wisconsin, we believe that our rights are ours for only as long as we can hold on to them, and heck, we're still using our rights. Don't take them away. We will become a nation. We will become a nation once again of written law, not jungle law. But we're up against a great force, a great power, buckets and buckets of money. It's money, money, money. And if you'd asked me in January of this year if we had a chance to reclaim our democratic republic, I would have said forget about it. The Supreme Court decision that somehow believes that an inanimate object which can't vote, which can't adopt a child, suddenly has the right to pump unknown mystery money into any campaign at any level, like they did in Wisconsin, like they did in Ohio and Michigan, across the country. This is just insane, medically speaking. Corporations have no pulse, they have no soul, and they have no way of knowing what's best for communities. They believe simply in corporate profits at any cost. We cannot sacrifice our rights and turn them over. Everything that we say from this point forward has to be aimed at people who are sitting on the sidelines, who have given up. People who believe that politics is for rich people. I went to see my father. He likes the Hershey candy bar. I go to the gas station where I go every time I see him, and I get a couple of candy bars, and Judy says, "Oh, Doc, you really love chocolate." I said, "No, it's not for me, it's for my dad." She said, "Right. I believed you as a doctor and when you were my congressman, but I don't believe you about that chocolate." I said, "Well, Judy, how do you like chocolate?" "I like it." "Well, how do you like Scott Walker, what he's doing to people's rights?" And she stopped what she was doing, put her hands down and said, "Hey, Kagen, politics is for rich people. I'm working hard every day to feed myself and my children. That's $3.78 for the candy." We have to reach Judy to let her know that she has an interest in who's going to be the next governor, the next senator, the next president, the next mayor in our town. Because her life, her ability to feed her family, her ability to make a living wage depends upon who's in office, somebody with good judgment. Now, I need to make some comments, and I apologize for going over a few minutes. I need to make some comments that will characterize for everyone who's an independent. That's code word for former Republican. Everything that today's Republican politicians say they are, they're the opposite. They are not just frauds, they're double frauds. They're double frauds first for saying things they know to be untrue. And they're the double fraud because they are depriving people of their understanding of what they're really up to. They say, for example, that they're interested in jobs. Well, why don't they bring at least one bill to the House floor and send it over to the Senate to create some jobs? Not a single job has been put forward. These radical Republicans have said that they want to save Medicare, senior care, family care, but they just voted to kill it. If the only way to save a patient is to kill it, you got to get another doctor. They need to move on. These double frauds in office, holding public office, holding the purse, holding on and protecting as they swore to protect and uphold our United States Constitution. They believe so much in the United States Constitution, they almost read all of it on the House floor. Left out a few pieces of it. But still, they will not protect your right to privacy. They will not respect the Fourth Amendment, the 14th Amendment. They will continue to allow the executive branch to grow and grow and grow, and they will not bring forward legislation to rein in corporations who have been stealing our jobs. They will not prosecute, as they should, as any administration should, the banksters who stole nearly $1 trillion and took it home. These fraudsters they say they believe in small business, but they just cut funding to the Small Business Administration and eliminated SBIR grants. They say they want to protect women's rights, but they just turned over control, government control, of women's health care decision-making in the most personal matters possible. They say they want freedom of speech, but they really mean they want freedom of speech for foreign corporations to manipulate our own free elections. They want to live within their means. Now, this is the biggest joke. You know, when President Bush was in power, he borrowed and spent and borrowed and spent. And 6 years ago in Oshkosh at the Democratic State Party, I said, what are the first two initials of borrow and spend? Well, I was new to this game. It's BS. You can't trust Republicans with your life, and you can't trust them with our money. Now, we have a lot of work to do. I made the comment last evening after the speech that I've never seen so many happy losers in my life. I don't know why we're happy. I guess we're happy to be here and still breathing. We still have a pulse. We still have a job to do. Our jobs are still being stolen. Healthcare reform is unfinished. It will be unending until everyone can reach in their pocket at the pharmacy, put the money on the counter, and walk out with what they need. Our job is unfinished until we end our involvement in making war, which is our worst human failure. Our job is not finished. We have work to do in the 8th District. We must re-elect Jim Hopeland. We must re-elect Dave Hansen. We must elect Nancy Nussbaum. This election matters. It does matter who your elected official is, because your next politician will determine your future, your children's future, and your grandchildren's future as well. I remain committed to being involved in this discussion because, just like you, I still believe that our children should be sent to school and not to make war. I believe that it's people that are more important than corporate profits. And like all of you, I believe in my heart and in my soul that one single family on Main Street is more valuable than all the corporations on Wall Street. We are Democrats because we believe these things. We have our rights as long as we can hold on to them. We have a battle ahead. Join me in this battle. We're going to win in Wisconsin, which is the tip of the spear. We're going to roll, we're going to roll, we're going to roll the Union on. We're going to protect our bargaining rights. We're going to protect all of our rights. Here, being with you this morning, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the hard work that you do, knocking on doors and talking to your independent friends. That it does matter, because politics is not just for rich people. Thank you, and on Wisconsin.